Hi, this is Barry with GuitarPCB, and the purpose of this video is to discuss germanium diodes. As we know, the early semiconductors used germanium as the standard commercial material. Due to easier processing and more stable temperature characteristics, silicon eventually became the semiconductor of choice. And as a consequence of that, most early germanium semiconductors were replaced with silicon. Also, simply put, silicon is much cheaper than germanium. Since silicon is so easy to find in nature, it's sand. Germanium diodes have the advantage of a low forward voltage drop though, typically 0.3 volts. This low forward voltage drop results in a low power loss and more efficient diode, making it superior in many ways to the silicon diode. A silicon diode forward voltage drop by comparison is typically 0.7 volts. A 1N34A 0.3, 1N60 0.4, a highly sought after 1N100A 0.5, as well as the 1N270. To add to the confusion, there are at least 2 or 3 manufacturers making Schottky diodes under old germanium part numbers. So I guess you really can't blame the eBay vendors and others for getting confused here too. True new old stock 1N34As are typically very hard to find. I will be using a peak atlas right here to test the forward voltage drop for heat sensitivity. The forward voltage drop depends on the current through the diode, so there will be a difference between testing with a digital multimeter and a peak atlas such as this, since they are measuring at different currents. Again, the main concept here is to show that a germanium diode is heat sensitive, and the most reliable way to test for germanium is to apply heat from your finger and see if the forward voltage changes. So let's test some diodes. Here's a very familiar pack here. Grab a few diodes out. I'm sure you've seen these before. We're going to go ahead and analyze. It's ready. And as you can see, we have a reading of 0.39 volts. Now, we pinch the glass between the finger and the thumb and hold on to that for a little while and see if we can make that voltage change. Okay, we're going to retest. And is it going to be different than 0.39? Still 0.39. Here's another very familiar looking diode. Let's test this one. Okay, it's analyzing. Now we're ready. And as you can see, this one shows 0.56. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same test here. We're just going to hold that glass piece between the finger and thumb and hold on to it for a little bit. We're going to go ahead and retest. See if we can get that to change. And it's ready. That one did change, 0.54. So we know that this is actually a germanium diode. If you ever come across on eBay something advertised as a germanium diode and it looks like that, or anything similar to that, don't buy it. It's not a germanium diode. I recently came across quite a large batch of old 1980s Russian diodes. So let's go ahead and measure one of those. Alright, now it's analyzing. And we have a reading of 0.49 volts. Okay, Now I'm going to go ahead and do between the finger and thumb for just a few seconds. And let's go ahead and retest and see if we can get that to change. Yes, we did. 0.47. This is a germanium diode. Also, uniquely, these 1980 Russian diodes fall within the same range as the highly sought after 1N100As. Those were used in several boutique builds, which I'm not going to mention in this video, but these would work perfectly in a build such as the G2 Animal that we carry, and also in our MKC circuit. I will have these available on my shop to sell. Also, while we're at it, I will also be carrying actual BAT 41s, and just so you can see, we'll measure the forward voltage of this, and it'll have a forward voltage drop of 0.58. And obviously I could do this all day and it wouldn't make a bit of difference. It's still going to read 0.58. So, but just to show you, 0.58. So keep that in mind when buying germanium diodes. Get them wherever you like. Just make sure that you find a reputable dealer and test your diodes.